Good Thursday morning. Okay, you want to see this? This is chapter 3 for the letter to the Colossians. Watch him put it all together here, okay? And think of the Eucharist. Think of liturgy, okay, because you can make a reference to it. But think of the liturgy as a symbol of the community come together in faith. Not just the liturgy, but the liturgy as the mode of expression of the living community of faith. Watch what he says. Brothers and sisters, put on as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving one another if one has a grievance against another. As the Lord's forgiven you, so must you also do. See? Bearing with one another and forgiving one another. See? Especially if one has a grievance against you. Make the peace. That's what he's saying. Make the peace. It's a great line. I like that expression, I have to say. Unfortunately, it comes from the mob, but it makes things to make the peace, you see. And over all of the, what time was it? 3 o'clock. Anyway, and above all these, put on love. That is the bond of perfection. See? Over everything, love. And let the peace of Christ control your hearts, the peace into which you are called in one body. In one body. See? Be thankful. That's the Eucharist. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, as in all wisdom you teach and admonish one another. Think of the preaching church. Okay, that's exactly it. Let the word of Christ, that's the first half of the liturgy, richly, as in all wisdom you teach and admonish one. He's talking to the ministers of the church. Doing what? Singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with gratitude in your hearts to God. Thanksgiving, you see. And whatever you do in word or in deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks. That's always a symbol of the Eucharist. Giving thanks to God, the Father, through him. Isn't that beautiful? Huh? Put on the bond of perfection. See? Oh, put on love. That is the bond of perfection. Let the peace of Christ control your hearts. The peace into which you were called, also called in one body. Be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you, see? As in all wisdom you teach and admonish one another. Look out for each other. You teach a wisdom. That's a beautiful piece of conclusive writing, see? Concluding writing. He's admonishing with a tenderness there. And I see that as the church. You know, for me, when I was being raised in the 50s, not by my parents, but I'm thinking of the preaching of the church was not, in my view, just my view, I think it wasn't preaching a wisdom at all, let alone a wisdom rooted in love. I think it was a Pharisaical gospel in a way. It was all rules fiercely enforced through the admonishment of the church. We had more mortal sins than Carter had liver pills. I mean, we lived in fear. It was virtually a religion of moral terror, and love was so absent from it. The love of Christ, we saw Christ coming in judgment, fierce judgment. I can remember, it was so strong. I'll give you an example, okay? I remember as a little boy, I told you the story, my brother horsing around. I was horsing around in Sunday school, and Pete got blamed by the sister, who was a marvelous woman, Sister Ann. God, what a fabulous woman, a fabulous witness of the gospel. But she was also brought up in that spirit of terror, and she said, you're going to get struck dead by God, because she thought he was the one horsing around. It was him, it was me, it wasn't him, it wasn't me, it was me, you know. That lasted quite some time. I remember when I visited the monastery, the seminary in Dunkirk, 1958, okay, 57 or 50, that's a long time ago, 60 plus years ago. And I saw some guy, one of the monks, one of the students, so he was a passionate student, okay, he was horsing around during the chanting of the divine office. And I swear to God, I thought he was going to get hit with lightning. I thought God was going to strike him dead. If I owe anything to anything and everything, I owe my faith to the Passionists, They taught me of the love of Christ. They taught me to see Christ crucified, not as a judge, but as a companion in life, as somebody who loved me so much as to willing to die for me. And I thought of my father's and parents' love for me, and that was radically transformative. I know my father. I told a story about taking his life jacket and giving it to me. And I saw now Christ as it were, giving his life to me. I wasn't afraid of Christ anymore. I loved Christ. If I feared anything, that I wouldn't live up to it. As I fear I would ever dishonor my family. I'm terrified of that thought, of ever dishonoring my family. I never want to dishonor Christ. Christ loved me. I want to be faithful. But, to quote Frank Sinatra, I want to do it my way. I'm not a robot. I want to do it my way. Walk together with Christ. Isn't that neat? That's the truth. I owe the outfit, the order, so much. So I can never, ever, ever thank the outfit for what they gave me in every way, but that especially. I learned to see Christ as the beloved, not as a judge. And I hope in whatever homilies I've given thousands now, I have never presented Christ as a hot-tempered, juridically driven tyrant, judge, but only as a companion. I see the Blessed Mother that way. I see the saints that way. I see them as friends together. Friends together. That's the truth. And who are patient. I think Christ is very patient with me. I know I'm a screwball in so many ways, okay? But I gotta think he gets a kick out of me. I gotta tell you the truth. He knows I'm not defiant. I'm doing what I have to do. But again, to quote the great philosopher Frank Sinatra, I'm gonna do it my way. He did it his way. Christ did it his way. I'm doing it my way. But we're doing it together. And that's the truth. I'm so grateful for being a Passionist. I think I would have lost my faith if it weren't, because I had to see Christ as the crucified lover. And when I did that, I ceased fearing him. I saw him as a faithful friend, a faithful brother and friend. I saw him in the image of my Father in a way, who would trade his life for mine without blinking an eye, who took his life jacket and gave it to me, his safety cushion, and gave it to me. Yeah. When you have that image, it's hard to fear God. You fear being disloyal. You fear being unworthy, but you don't fear him. You fear yourself. You fear that you're not up. You're not that you're not good enough, is that you didn't live up to it. My mother said to me when I left home, don't disgrace her family name. She didn't tell me don't disgrace her family name. My father put it more bluntly. He said, when I got ordained, he said, if you want to leave anytime you want. But whatever you do, don't make a goddamn fool out of yourself, because that would dishonor the family. Don't make a goddamn fool out of yourself. I can remember I was standing outside the church. The oil was still wet on my hands. He got it right. Don't make a goddamn fool out of yourself. You see, don't dishonor our family. Act freely, but honorably. That to me is passionate spirituality. Be a passionist, but be it your way. Somebody asked me once, what would St. Paul of the Cross, did I tell you this already? St. Paul of the Cross say to you when you die? He was the founder of the order. And I put it in street talk. I said, what would you say to him? I'd say, Paul, you did it your way, I did it mine. We're both passionists. You did it your way, I did it mine. I hope I did as well. I hope I served well. That's all. I hope I served well. Yeah. I think you could all say the same thing. When you think about your marriages and your families, did you love well? Did you serve well? Did I love well? Do you see? That's what matters. Not fear, but the call of love and intimacy itself. Did we love well? Those God gave us to love and be loved by.